Good morning everyone, welcome to our Thursday assembly. Christmas is over and we're in what we call the spring term, though it doesn't feel much like spring at the moment. In the spring things begin to grow, everything happens so quickly. But I'm not just talking about plants. One minute we're talking about the baby Jesus at Christmas, and then it seems the next minute we're talking about Jesus on the cross at Easter. Of course, it took more than 3 months for Jesus to grow up. He didn't have any magic growing medicine. He started as a baby. He grew into a child like you. Then he was a teenager, a young adult, and then a man. It took 30 years. And then he began to share things about what he'd seen growing up and things he'd learnt from God. So as we travel towards Easter this term, we're going to look at some of the things that Jesus taught through stories. One thing that happens in spring is that we plant seeds and we enjoy watching them grow up. And in these next assemblies this term, I'm going to bring a different box each time with something in it. And today, this is my seed box. So let's see what's inside. Here are some seeds. In fact, some of these I've already planted, and I'll show you what's been happening. I've started with broad beans, and I've been planting sweet peas, and when it gets a bit warmer I'll be planting radishes, beetroot, tomatoes, and all kinds of other things as well. Let's go and see how some of these have been growing. Well, here are the sweet peas that I planted in the autumn, and as you can see, they're growing really well here in the pots, but I'm going to keep them here in the greenhouse until it's a bit warmer, then I can plant them out. Now, as we go down the garden, it's a lovely, sunny but frosty day. And it's a reminder that spring is not far away. Now this is where I grow my vegetables, and I'm going to show you what's been growing down here. Now, I showed you some of the seeds in my box, and the first ones I showed you were broad beans, and I planted them in the autumn, and this is what they look like now. I have to cover them with some netting so the pigeons don't eat them. And then over here, these small shoots are garlic bulbs. And over on this side, just beginning to come up, I can see some onions. It's a sign that spring is not far away. Things are beginning to grow. And all through the winter, look what else has been growing down here. Brussels sprouts. We picked some of these on Christmas Day, had them for our lunch. Well, as you can see, I really enjoy planting seeds and watching them grow up. And I expect Jesus had seen things grow up where he lived. Maybe he'd planted seeds himself. He'd certainly seen people planting seeds in the ground. Here's a story about some seeds that Jesus told. This was one of the first stories that Jesus told. These stories are what we call parables. The problem was, people enjoyed the story, but they didn't really understand what it was about. So Jesus went on to explain. The seeds are like the things that we can learn about God. Jesus telling the story was like him planting the seeds, thoughts and ideas planted in people's minds. Those who hear them can be like different types of soil. Sometimes we hear something good, but then we forget about it straight away as if a bird has eaten it up. Sometimes we might listen and understand and then find things get tricky or tough and we give up or forget, like the seeds on the rocky soil or the seeds amongst the weeds. But sometimes we'll hear something that is good, we'll remember it, and will be the better for it, like the seed in the good soil. Jesus wanted people to hear good things about God, to remember them, and for them to make a difference. Jesus isn't the only person we can hear good things from. Your teachers want to pass on good things as well, for you to remember them and for them to make a difference. So let's think quietly about the sort of soil we would like to be. This term we'll hear lots of good things about how we can live. Stories about God, the stories that Jesus told. And it's up to us to decide what we're going to do with them. Are we going to welcome them like seeds in the good soil? And we'll finish with a prayer. Dear God, please help us to listen and learn from what we hear from our teachers and what we hear in the stories you told all those years ago. Help each of us to be like the good soil. Amen. And now you can join with me in the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. So I hope you have a really good day. Remember the things that you've been taught. Let them sink into you like the seeds in that good soil. And I'll see you again next week.